Well, let's take you now to one of our top stories tonight, which is the decision for Chris Hani's killer to serve parole in South Africa. We're joined by Interpol Ambassador and Security Advisor, Andy Mashaile. Good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time and for coming into studio tonight. So quite a significant decision that has been made today, because the expectation all along was that Janusz Walus was going to be serving parole effectively in his home country, that he wouldn't even have to spend a day outside prison in South Africa.
Oscar, good evening to you and your team and your championship viewers. It is against the backdrop of the constitution of our country and the relevant legislation that people, no matter who they are, they must serve their sentence to the fullest. I was worried, Sketty, when I saw that rumor going by, because I compared that with what the law says when people serve parole. Why would those who committed murder in South Africa and those who are on parole, why would they have to go out there and serve their full sentence outside of the prison but in the country? Why not the other gentleman? Why not this convicted murderer, Janusz Walus?
Does the fact that he was not South African to begin with not play a part, that he became a naturalized South African?
Those who gave him the citizenship and it being led to Home Affairs revoking it around 2016, 2017, needed to have to explain to us why in the first place they gave him citizenship, and Home Affairs would need to explain to us why they revoked his sentence, knowing that there is a possibility that he would have served 25 years of the so-called life sentence, and he would need to finish that part, the last part of his service after the parole factor in this country and nowhere else. I mean, how are we going to ensure that in Poland he sticks to the guns of respecting the rule of law?
It's not lost on me that part of the conversations that perhaps have been taking place include the kind of support that he has always had in his home country, the fanaticism that follows him, and the fact that he killed Chris Hani, and the extent to which him going back to Poland would simply be emboldening those groups, where he is a hero.
He is a hero simply because of racist tendencies which gave birth to fear of communism. And communism in this context of Chris Hani gave him freedom to be enjoying this parole. If it were not for the life of Chris Hani and all those who are important in the same space and line of Chris Hani or Steve Bikos of the world, he would not be going out of parole, out on parole to go back to his country. I was saddened when I looked at the stadium and I saw the big pictures and that cycle of communism, him had been a 2-cent plastic hero that you can buy from one of the 2 shops in and out in Poland, disrespecting the rule of law of other countries. I would have been sensitive if I were those people. But you and I understanding that there are race groups in the world who think that our lives as Africans is no better than them as Europeans and where they come from.
A lot of attention will now have to be paid to what happens with Walus once he is out. Ultimately, there is the question of, will he have the same arrangement, such as what we have seen with Eugene de Kock, who was given accommodation at a safe house by the government, and as far as we understand, receives a stipend from the government. It certainly hasn't been put on record that he no longer receives that stipend. And even that, of course, is going to either create more anger or even animosity among South Africans. As a security advisor, I mean, what are the considerations?
For his own personal safety, the people of this country are angry. Some of us youngsters and the people that I spoke to, the people of this country, by some of us, have expressed anger that I have never seen before, or that one cannot contain through a discussion. If he were to walk down the streets of Soweto or the streets of Alexander, I wonder what would happen. So given that background and ensuring that there wouldn't be any mob justice or the people taking the law into their own hands to do what government and all other institutions cannot do in terms of keeping him inside the cooler box, the prison. It is against that background that we have to ensure that those who gave him the parole or those who made parole possible have an equal responsibility to ensure that he is safe and secure through local law enforcement. If he were to die here, I wonder what would happen in Poland in terms of the relationship that we have with country to country, and those madcaps who are parading him as a hero when he's a convicted murderer and a plastic hero that we will not take very serious.
So, in very simple terms, then, Mr. Mashaile, what are you saying the government should do around his parole?
Sis Keith, from an emotional point of view, which you know very well that I don't play the game, but from an analyst point of view and an advisor point of view, from an emotional point of view, one would say, let it be. If he wants protection, he can have protection. If he doesn't want protection, then let him have it his way. But in the interest of law and order in our country, we know what might possibly happen, and we must prevent it before it happens. Hence, some of us provide advice on safety and security. And this gentleman, in our research, found that he is a threat to national security as far as the people in the street are concerned. We don't know who he might kill next. Those who are associated with communism, those who are associated with the political parties in our country. What happens if he goes out there and kills the president of the country, like the offenders, like Sehan who killed JFK and all those others? It is interesting. When you look at the Sehans who killed JFK, they are rotting in jail, and the offenders rot in jail. Why can't this gentleman also rot in jail? But I respect the decisions of the legal decision makers and advisors, those who have applied his mind and thought it wise that he should walk out after 25 years because of reason A, B, C, D, F, G, that I do not want to go into. But long and short, we have a responsibility as a country to provide him with safety and security. And I don't know what implications that will have on the people of the country, the taxpayers of this country.
All right, well, we'll have to wait and see if all of those arrangements will be in place by Wednesday, which is the anticipated release date. Of course, not much detail coming out yet in terms of what his release would actually need to look like. And we know that the Justice Minister is the one that has been tasked with putting together the conditions of that release. That's Interpol Ambassador and Security Advisor Andy Mashaile.